At Jerome Country Market, I got Brett Griffiths with us, and Brett, we are going to skin some deer here.
Yes, Tim, this is just a couple of average deer that come in throughout the day, one buck, one doe, and I got a couple of employees here, and they've been with us for a long time here at Jerome Country Market. They can skin some deer pretty quick here. What we normally do is we'll cut off the head at the atlas joint, and then we'll slice down the brisket area, and then we pop off all four legs. They're popping off the front legs and the hind legs now.
I guess I got to watch out of the, get out of the way.
Watch out here, huh?
These guys are fast and to the point. And they said they've been doing it a while. They said it's in their blood.
Yeah, they've kind of grown up with it. It's all they ever known, and all I've ever known, I guess.
How long does it take to skin a deer?
One person can run about 8 deer an hour, okay, if he's working all day on them. Mm-hmm. We can go a little bit faster. You can see this is not going to take very long because I probably got the two best guys I've got on the two deer here.
Going to town.
The trick is, Tim, is to have a nice clean deer.
Okay.
You know, you don't want a lot of hair. You don't want, it's a lot of stuff off the floor. You got to keep the deer as clean as possible. Mm-hmm. What they've done now with the head off and all of the legs are opened, they're going to start skinning out the legs, and then we're going to hook a cable onto them, and as we raise the deer up, the hide will pull right off the deer. And that's just going to take a few more minutes here.
All right, what's the next step here then, Brett?
Well, Tim, they're starting to hang the deer up now, and what they've done is they've got it all opened and all prepped and ready. What they're going to do is they've got the back legs open. They're going to hang a cable on around the back of the hide, and as they pull and hook that cable into a hook down on the floor, then they're going to raise the deer up. When the deer goes up, the hide will stay down and the deer carcass will go up, and once we get it up, we'll land it on the roller.
All right, so we're going to hook a cable to the hide, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
All right, so it's kind of I don't want to say the easy way of doing it, but all of a sudden it's going up and you're going to skin it like that.
Exactly. Takes a lot of the work out of skinning down a deer. There's many ways to skin a deer. Some people skin them by the head. Some people skin them by the legs like we're doing. I've heard guys of hooking car tires up to them and pulling them off of a tree.
Hey, you get the job done, that's what works.
Exactly. And you can see, Tim, it doesn't take very long at all to get a deer skinned. The trick is to have a nice clean carcass when you're done. Once they get that lowered down a little bit more, they're landing it now. And they'll kind of give it a push. It'll come around this way. And once they come around this way, Tim, at this point, we will clean them up. You can see the floor drains here. We'll get them all washed up, cleaned up, sprayed with a citric acid. We push them around, push them into the cooler. We can put as high as 400 deer in the cooler.
Holy cow.
In that particular cooler. We have 4 other cooler facilities here within inside the building. Everything is locked up the same day. You bring it in. It's usually skinned within 20 minutes to an hour after you bring your deer in. And there's some days, Tim, that we can take in 200-300 deer.
All right. We're at Jerome Country Market learning about skinning here on the Big Buck Pull. Stay with us, we got more coming up after this. Time now here on the Big Buck Pull to find out about deer processing. I'm Tim Hart. We've got Brett Griffiths with us from the Jerome Country Market. Brett, welcome to the show.
Hi, Tim.
All right, so we are in the cutting room right now. What all happens in the cutting room? You were telling me about 100+ deer a day here.
Yeah, Tim, we'll do a number of deer throughout the season, and we can average about 100 to 110 deer a day, and we'll do that for about a week and a half. And that is relying on a lot of customers. As they drop off and we call them, they pick up as soon as possible. That allows us to get more deer into that freezer and use that space.
All right, so the deer comes in. What's the next step? We got our work crew ready to roll, right?
Yep. This is an average deer. It's on the table. It's a little bit smaller deer. It was shot with a bow. Every deer has a colored tag. This one happens to be vanilla for the day. We use 7 different tags, a tag for each day of the week. And then we have the cutting order here. Every deer has a cutting order, so each deer gets cut with its own cutting order and placed back into the freezer.
And that's where I can say, hey, I want X amount of roast, or I want X amount of sausage, or whatever the case may be.
Correct.
All right. All right, so these guys are going to get to work?
Yes. What we do, Tim, is we break the deer down into thirds, and at that point we start. Some people do not want to have saw work done. Some people want roast, and it just kind of all depends on what the customer orders. They may say, I want round steaks, not using the saw. They may say, I want chops, which you need to use the saw. They may want butterflies or whole loins, just depending on what the customer orders.
So everything is then custom cut, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, this particular customer wanted to have inner loins and back straps whole, so we're taking the back straps out of the rib cage and the inner loins. He's also wanting jerky out of both of his back rounds, so we're just going to break down those muscles in the back legs, make jerky, and the rest of it, he just wanted burger. And with the burger, we can put, whether it is burger with beef suet, straight grind, they don't want anything added. We can do pork trim, 80%, or we can do ground chuck with it. We offer 4 different things for the customer.
All right. Let's take a look at some of the cuts of meat right now. So now we're taking a look at some of the different cuts of meat, and Brett, let's talk about what we've got in front of us, because some people that are not familiar with deer processing, they shoot the deer, next thing you know they got sausage, they're ready to roll, but they don't know maybe some of the different cuts of meat that they could get.
Well, Tim, as we cut the deer, these would be some of the cuts that would come off of the deer. Of course, on the end you can see the butterflies. This is a whole loin, and if we butterfly it out, this is what it would look like. You have your inner loins down on the very far end. They're not very big, but they are the most tender part of the deer. From there, the hind legs, this is 1 round, and you can average about 6 to 7 round steaks per round on a deer.
Okay.
And then this is a round over here that has been broke down and ready for us to make jerky. We make 5 flavors of jerky. This looks a lot less than this, but by the time you take the bone and all the parts there that can't be used, those all go into burger grind. Of course, you have roast that can be used, and depending on how many roast, if they don't want round steaks, they like a lot of roast, you can kind of flip-flop and use round steaks as roast, cut them in half. And then, of course, here we have all the burger grind, the grind that would be out of the venison. And we can take this and grind that 4 different ways. If you want it just straight grind, or if you want it with beef suet, 80% pork, or ground chuck.
All right, so do most people know what they want when they bring their deer to you?
We've been in business since '87. A lot of our customers are repeat customers. They know what they want from year to year. They say, I want to take my first bow kill and put that in the freezer, and then maybe have a lot of smoked meat done later in the season. They do know what they want from year to year. Every now and then you get the new customer and they're not sure of the way that we do our processing, or just they don't get a lot of deer themselves and they're not sure just what to do with the deer, and then they ask us for advice.
What are some of the most common things that you find, and I don't want to say mistakes, but some of the common problems that you get when somebody brings a deer in and maybe they have field dressed it wrong, or they've done something? Give me some tips.
Well, Tim, I think a lot of it is when a hunter goes out to the field and he dresses his deer, he's excited, he's anxious. He is so excited that when he tries to field dress his deer, as he pulls the viscera out of the deer, he'll cut through the inner loins and just make them little cubes. And what I mean by that is he pulls the viscera out of the deer, he takes these little tenderloins and he just kind of nips them up by accident, not even realizing what he's doing, and then it goes to the processor, and then they wonder why they can't get some inner loins back. And it always helps if you thoroughly wash out the deer, rinse it out, and remember always to clean the bunghole out of the deer. That is a very important part of field dressing, and a lot of guys forget that.
All right, so some different tips on there. When you take your deer, and then again, you have all different varieties of processing, and we're gonna do some cooking today, aren't we?